What we have here is a two-dimensional picture with a bunch of angles that are, some of these angles are marked and some of these angles are to be determined. We need to find out these angles on the left hand side. For instance, angle HEA, HIE. Some of the angles in my picture are marked. These two angles are congruent. This angle and this angle. And these two angles are also congruent. This angle and this angle. Okay, let's get started. Let's first find out the measure of angle H, E, and A. Okay, this is a right triangle. Angle EAD is a right triangle. If this is 90 degrees, these three angles, this should add up to 180. So from 180, if I subtract 90, I get 90. If I equally divide 90 between these two angles, because they're congruent, I'm going to get 45 for each. This is 45. This is also 45. Okay, I calculated this. I need to find HIE. HIE. Before we can get to HIE, let's find this angle, IHE. Take a look at this. This angle plus this angle is equal to 180 because these two angles are supplementary. They're a linear pair, however you want to say it. So this has to be 115. 180 minus 65. 180 minus 65 is 115, so this has to be 115. Okay, let's draw it nicely. Okay, so this angle is 115, this angle. Okay, so how do I calculate HIE? HIE has to be 180 minus 20 minus 115. So if you add 115 to 130, you're going to get 135. And if you subtract 135 from 180, you're going to get 45 degrees here. This has to be 45. So we calculated HIE. Now we need to calculate the measure of A, B, C. Would come in handy if we could calculate this angle. Okay? And how do we do that? Well, first we need to calculate this angle. And before we can find that, let's calculate this one. Now take a look at this entire angle. All these three angles add up to 180. So from 180, if I subtract 80 plus 45, I will get 55, and this has to be 55. Always a good idea to check. 55 plus 45 is 100. 100 plus 80 is 180. So these three angles add up to 180. This is 55. This is 95. If you subtract these two from 180, you're going to get this angle. 95 plus 55 is 150. And from 180, if you subtract 150, you're going to get 30. So this is 30. Okay. How do we calculate this angle? This little angle here. Small angle. Okay, which is not terribly difficult. If this is 115, this also has to be 115 because they're vertical angles. I'll label it like this. Has to be 115. Now from 180, look at this triangle. From 180, if you subtract 45 and 115, you will get this angle. 45 plus 115 is 160. From 180, if you subtract 160, you're going to get 20, so this has to be 20. Okay, well, let's put it right here so that we can read it 20 better. Okay, now we are almost there. Now I can find the measure of A, B, and C. This angle, angle BAC, is 50 degrees. From 180, subtract 50, you're going to get 130. Take 130 and equally divide 130 between these two angles, so each has to be 65. So we calculated the measure of angle ABC, which turns out to be 65. All right, now let's move to IGD. I, G, and I, G, D. Okay, one way to look at it, consider this triangle G, D, E. This is 20, this is 80. Add them up, you're going to get 100. From 180, if you subtract 100, you're going to get 80, so this has to be 80. Okay, so we calculated IGD. DGC, DGC. Okay, if this is 95, these two angles are linear, form a linear pair. These two angles marked by two dots, and the dots will be gone. So from 180, if I subtract 95, I'm going to get 85. This has to be 85. Okay, now using this triangle GFC and these two angles, I can find the third angle of a triangle. 180 minus 85 minus 65 will give me that. 85 plus 65 is 85 plus 65 is 150. From 180, if you subtract 150, you're going to get 30. So angle DGC is 30 degrees. Alright, so we have one more. HAE. Where is HAE? HAE. This one isn't too difficult. This whole angle is 90. This is 20. 90 minus 20 is 70. So this has to be 70. So HAE has to be 70. We calculated that one as well. What's HAD? HAD is 20. We already have it right here. 20. ADF. ADF. We already have it. 55. Okay. DAF. DAF. We already have it. It's 30 right here. 30. So we have all these angles now. So we're all set.